Yes, indeed. Yes, we are live. We are live. Of course, it's the wee hours for me, but I'm already pacing the bedroom. And I said, why wait until tomorrow since I'm up for a little while? This is not going to be long. I want to say, if you haven't heard, maybe you haven't because you don't follow boxing or sports, which I don't follow sports per se. The only thing I follow is boxing and bodybuilding, right? In the news now, the last couple of days, is that Floyd Money Mayweather, the undefeated fighter, is coming back to fight professionally. Not an exhibition, but professionally. So could you imagine that? But he had made all of this money, close to $1 billion, if not a billion. And he's generated that, most definitely. But you have to pay out managers, promoters, the platforms that air the fight, foreign rights, all these different things. But he has generated single-handedly, I would just say, $1 billion. He had exhibitions. He was supposed to be retired. Well, what happened? Well, they say that he's out of money. I'm not one to pocket watch. BX Alexander, welcome on in. Yeah. It'll be over the news even more so. But in April, he's supposed to have an exhibition with Mike Tyson. Now, what kind of exhibition is that? Mike Tyson is so much bigger than him, even though he's older and slower. What is Floyd Mayweather going to do with him, unless it's fixed? And Mike Tyson doesn't really dig Floyd Mayweather anyway, so they're going to have the agreements on what to do and what not to do to see them both in the ring. A welterweight and a heavyweight. Okay. Boxing is prostituting itself. It's making up these matches for the casual fan that doesn't know much about fighting. And it's diluting the integrity of the sport, because I bet you that exhibition makes more money than other top contenders and champions. See? Peaceful. Welcome on in. This is not going to be long. I'm going to start doing these before I go to bed and talk about a few things that are on my mind, because there's so many things to talk about. There's no way I can do like a 2-hour show on everything that I'm finding out about. But yeah. So it was evident that he had money issues when he was in either Dubai or somewhere in the Middle East, and they wouldn't let him leave because they said that he owed somebody over there, some higher up, money, big money, and they were not letting him leave. But the media didn't really grab that. But they wouldn't let him leave. You're going to pay up your debt, or we're going to keep you here. That wasn't too long ago. And then there are jewelers that he's done business with over the years that are suing him because they said that, listen, you haven't paid us our money. When you have that kind of money, it's like, well, take the jewelry, pay me later on. We know you got money. We know you're good for it. Then there was some luxury condo that he was renting. Why would you rent a place? Why would you rent a place when you have that much money and you have so-called properties all over the world? And he's bragging about it. Nubian King, welcome on in. Thank you for being here. I wanted to hit, see, it's 2:19 for me, so I know it's got to be like 9:19 on the East Coast and counting back. And I miss a lot of my family on the lines because of the time difference of me being in West Africa. So I said, sometime before I go to bed, and maybe every night, we'll do it this way. I'm on my phone right now. I'm not down in the studio, because if I stay in the studio, I'm going to stay up all night. That's just the way it is. But this wasn't looking good. And people that were with him for many years, gone. His attitude, all the while, he had a very narrow-minded And I don't want to insult us, but I have to talk about some of us. He shouldn't have to come back and fight. Do you think he wants to come back and fight? He knows that he's not what he used to be. He's not going to fight any top contenders, but he has a fight planned in September against Manny Pacquiao. And mark my words, Manny Pacquiao is not what he used to be. He beat Manny Pacquiao, what, 11 years ago? It was in 2015, I think. Now it's 2026. But the names alone, they're famous. And people who don't really know boxing, they're like, wow, they're going to fight. But Manny Pacquiao just fought the guy that Ryan Garcia just beat, right? Took his championship. But Manny Pacquiao fought him to a draw, which is good enough to me because he's been out and he's so much older. Before that, he beat Keith Thurman. So he's one of those guys who, whether they say he was taking PEDs or not, he's got skills. And against the reduced Floyd Mayweather, because Floyd Mayweather looks heavy for himself and he looks soft. And there's no way you're going to sit out that long. He's doing exhibitions and training to a point, but he wasn't really training for those. Why are you coming back? If you, $1 billion? Look, you give me $1 million. I'm going to flip it and do what I have to do and stay living below my means. I don't have to have cars in Florida, in New York, in Las Vegas. I don't have to have all of these properties unless it's making me money. You know, yeah, Pac-Man's still active. You give me that, look, you give me $500,000 and come check me in 5 years and see how much I have, because then it'll be a game. It won't be survival. Even my little, I'm appreciative of it. My little Social Security, my little retirement check, it ain't much, but I'm living below my means. I don't have no worries that way. I'm on a budget. I'm not rich, but I set myself up where I don't have to worry. I'm going to eat, and we'll take it from there. You can splurge and treat yourself to something every now and then. I'm not saying the man can't have a luxury car. I can't say the man can't have a nice house that's bigger than normal. But let the other things pay for your lifestyle. But these women, all down through the years, all these women, he was tricking with them. They really weren't paying him no mind. It's the money he had. And he's tricking. There's something in his psyche. And many of us, unfortunately, have this deficiency. Yes, Sister Queen Diane. Welcome on in. Oh, wait a second. I miss Boz? Yes. Welcome on in, Boz. I'm doing a late one tonight. This is going to be short, but I had to say a few things. There's something up with us. I'm not saying all of us, but he came from humble beginnings. His father was there to start him out. His father, boxed Sugar Ray Leonard back in the 70s. Many people don't realize that. Floyd Mayweather Sr. And he gave a good account of himself. And then he went to prison, selling stuff. But he taught Floyd Mayweather. He was away for a while. His uncle Roger took over. He was an active fighter. But there's a lot of dysfunction with that. And from what I heard, I can't say for sure, but they say his mother was messing with that crack. So they came up poor in Michigan, and it's admirable that he had the discipline, the talent, and the ability. A lot of us have the ability in many areas of our life, right? Talents, abilities, and certain skills, but many of us don't have the discipline to follow through with it. I always said, the best of anything we don't know yet. They say Muhammad Ali was the greatest. I believe that. Yes, I feel that way. But there were other great fighters. But there are fighters right now, just using fighters as an example. There are fighters right now that we'll never know are great. because they don't have the drive and discipline. They're not even in the gym. They might be on the corner drinking a 40 and smoking a blunt, and they're untrained and don't have the discipline. So the best of anything, whether it's business, whether it's sports, whatever it may be, I believe that you need the discipline and ability to sacrifice. And that he did. And boxing is not an easy sport. It's not guaranteed. You're getting hit in the head, and they say he was a defensive wizard. But when you're training and fighting, you're still getting hit in the head. Even if you have headgear on, if you tap yourself and take the heel of your hand and just tap your head. And that's nothing compared to punches coming at you. And he's done well. We know that. But what about on the other end? Did anybody ever teach him financial literacy? And you don't have to know every single thing in detail, but the basics, common sense. Welcome in the Wolf Master. I'm pacing right now. I'm in the bedroom. I'm upstairs in the dark. I'm just pacing. Like I said, this is not going to be a long one. I just wanted to express a few thoughts, and I think I'm going to do this every night before I go to bed. I like this. Plus, I'm not in the studio. I love being in the studio, but I'm in there a lot. But the ego, being delusional. See, he's been rich in his life more than he's been poor. Let's look at it this way. There's many angles to look at it. If he's 49 or going to turn 49, or let's just say 50, he's right there. So from when he was in his early 20s, he was already a champion. See? So the little money he made, which was big money to me or most people, he kept getting more and more and more. So let's say for 30 years of his life, he was pretty much set out of 50. He's been more wealthy than he was poor. But the poor mentality, the poor way of thinking, whatever you were coming up, lots of times that's how you see yourself. And I'll throw something as far as exactly, stop. 4652-005. I know who you are. It doesn't make you smart. But see, there's something, and I'll throw something out for Boz there on a bodybuilding tip. When you see bodybuilders that are so developed, whether they're taking steroids or not, and they're huge, intimidating, looking unreal. You're sitting in a restaurant with your girlfriend, and this big guy comes in, yo, man, look at this guy. You're not on a homo tip or nothing like that. You're looking at him like, I'm not used to seeing this. Those guys, lots of times, are some of the most insecure guys that you ever want to meet because they don't see themselves that way. You understand? They are running away from the image of what they were before they started training. They had a little bit of healthy dose of insecurity, and they use it to motivate them. But they're never quite there yet in their mind because they see themselves as they used to be. So bringing this back to boxing and Floyd Mayweather, his upbringing, which I would say the inner city, father's locked up, mother's on crack, you're real young, you left out of school early, but you stuck with boxing. That's commendable. But he grew up around boxing. He's very blessed, and he stuck it through. But other than that, does he see himself as this poor guy that he has to not only spend the money, because there are a lot of guys that blow money silently, but he has to rub it in people's faces. He has to remind people how much he has. He walks around with cash, bodyguards, several different places in America. He has a fleet of vehicles. Again, I'm not pocket watching. I'm happy to wake up and God wakes me up every single morning. I'm blessed to have pretty much good health. I feel like I'm living well. I'm happy and grateful for every little crumb and every little morsel that I have. And I can say, and they say never say never. If you gave me the money that he made, I would never act like that because I know it could be snatched away quick. And if this is true, which it looks to be, why would you come back at this age? He did it to himself. He did it to himself. I did good business deals. I'm Floyd Mayweather, and nobody's done it like me. I'm undefeated. I'm the best. I'm better than Muhammad Ali. That's how. I mean, get your head up out your backside, man. You're a human being, and this is embarrassing. So I want to hear what he has to say about these lawsuits, and he's suing people that he did business with. He's suing one of the guys that worked with him through Showtime. In an interview, and I forgot his name, he was very disappointed. It came out of nowhere. And you got all of this money, and you need to have an accountant to check an accountant and another one to check. I'd spend my money that way. I'd spend my money that way. I'd live below my means, way below my means. The people I know that have done well, and they've made less money than Floyd Mayweather, and they're set for life. It shouldn't be, after a point when you have so much money, it shouldn't be about the money anymore. Yes, you watch it like a hawk. You're a target. People want to come at you for lawsuits and everything. Lawsuits coming at you every day. What's this lawsuit about, Johnny? Well, you sneezed in a restaurant and the man said he has this incurable illness. He's suing you. Oh, man. You see what I mean? But him coming back at that age, what else could it be? What else could it be? In all the years of blowing money, taking money and throwing it, burning it, bragging about it, and his former buddy, 50 Cent, he is having a ball laughing at him because they had a falling out. They were together. They were doing some business deals together, high profile, and they had a falling out. And I just believe that Floyd Mayweather is very difficult to work with. See, you'll be admired on one side for the drive and discipline and aggression. But then those things are not always conducive to maintaining healthy relationships. And then when you're bragging like that, the ego comes in and everybody has to bow down to you. I would not want to be that way because he's going to have a bunch of yes men around him. And he did. He paid for that. All those bodyguards, all those cars, jets. You got to pay to maintain that jet even when it's not in the air? And the pilot? No, man. You think Muhammad Ali, even though in comparison, he made far less money because that's just the state of the game in boxing at the time. We have the pay-per-view, we have Netflix, we have a further reach now, different ways of making money. So if Muhammad Ali came up in this day and age, trust me, he would be well over $1 billion, okay? The way he promoted, the way he got along with people, of course. Now, you take that same spirit and you got the Epstein files out here, and if he had to talk about it, he's going to get in trouble with somebody. I don't believe in all those things they did and messing with kids. Man, I can't do that. I don't believe in that. I don't want to have nothing to do with that. And so I was going to try to do something to him, get him locked up. Hope Rice, the only Rice I F's with. How are you, sister? Man, I need to do some of these before I go to bed all the time, but usually I get to bed way earlier. But I'm going to try. We're going to try to do this every night. But it's a shame. It's embarrassing to me as a Black man. I'm not connected to him in any kind of way, but the perception. And people all over the world know him. And all he can do is talk about money. That's it. Now you take a guy like Mike Tyson. He made a lot of money and he blew a lot of money, lost everything, and came back, reinvented himself. But he was always a wise man. But he was young. And the fame from young and after Customado died, it's hard to handle. And he learned some hard lessons. And look at him now. He's married, he's settled, he's off drugs, and he's going to fight Floyd Mayweather. in the exhibition. I hope he forgets that it's an exhibition and puts a hurting on him. Floyd Mayweather's going to be running. And I know Tyson's slow now and whatever have you. So it just might be a glorified game of tag. But I can't stand him because if he was so bad, he said he was better than Muhammad Ali. And you know, he's a scared little man. And Muhammad Ali didn't need bodyguards to take his kids to school, but he does because he's a scared little man. What kind of champion is that? Yeah, for the money. And that disappointed me, Nubian King, because that's what it was. And old Mike Tyson can beat 99% of the people on earth. They can run around, the younger and stuff. I know that. But if you put a gun to both of their heads, whoever he's fighting, and say, listen, you better hurt him, you better kill him, whatever, he's going to do it. Muscle memory. He's pulling punches when he fought Jake Paul, threw the punch and held it back and all that stuff. Come on. They showed him in training. I know they was speeding up the tape a little bit to make it look more effective and convincing. Those of us who watch boxing for years, we know that. But come on. The things you remember, how to shift your weight when you're punching, all of this stuff. This is going to be a circus and we know it's an exhibition. But we got to see some punches being thrown. They just can't stand in the ring and shadow box in front of each other. And like I said, Tyson is making his money back. It's not the money he used to have, but he's stable and he can use more money, right? He's doing a lot of varied things. And at one point, many people didn't think that he would have made it this far, right? But he's here and he's wise. He's a bit gritty sometimes, but look at the life he lived and what he came through. I admire that, even if he had losses on his record, which he does. And Floyd Mayweather has some fights that many people found questionable, but he got out of the game. But it's almost like he's going to have to lose soon. That's the way it seems to me. Like, yeah, you're going to, because we have higher powers that be that control sports. I don't want to get into the whole conspiracy thing, but I don't think they're going to allow him to get away. If he fights Pacquiao, he may fight somebody else. He may keep fighting, depending on how he looks, but they're not going to let him keep on going and have him bragging like that and undefeated as a black man. They're not going to have him do that. And we have other undefeated fighters. Look at Terrence Crawford, who just beat Canelo Alvarez, right? He's smart. He got out because he knows that they would do something if he fought again or fought a rematch with Canelo Alvarez. They're going to do something to steal it from him. And we know a lot of fighters that had fights stolen from them, and we know it was a ripoff, but the record books say what it is, and the subsequent generations don't know it was a ripoff. Look at what happened when Pernell Whitaker, Sweet Pea, fought Oscar De La Hoya. He beat De La Hoya, but they gave it to De La Hoya because he's the golden boy. It's the business of boxing. And it doesn't care about anybody. So if you have a chance to get in and get out, keep your faculties, keep the money you have, and don't push it. But it's seductive. And many fighters feel they still have it. And you don't have to be a fighter to be that way. Me, in my mind, honestly, I'm 2 months of training away from looking the way I did 40 years ago. And I have to keep telling myself, no, man, you're almost 63 years old in April. You're not that. You can be better, but relax, take it easy. When you hit a high point of something in your life as a man, you always have to fight with that thought. I'm very honest about that. I don't walk up and down. I go to the village in nighttime in the dark streets. There's no violence out here, but I'm like, yo, let somebody try me. I'll knock them out. I might break my hand trying to do that. I'm not Superman, and I have to remind myself that. But when you go so far in a sport, and could you imagine the adrenaline rush? You beating people, you're undefeated, everybody knows you, asking for autograph. Smartphones are up and they're taking video of you, you know? Oh, his body weight? Back when he was fighting, he was on a welterweight division. So that's no higher than 147. And then maybe he might have been between fights at 150. 149, 151, you see, because he had one fight at 154, I believe, and he was much lighter for that fight. So he never had problems with his weight, even though every now and then, he'd go and get some McDonald's or get some junk food or whatever. He always ran. He always, that's one thing. He was a gym rat. So I can't knock him for that. But don't get in the ring with Pacquiao now. And I know he beat Pacquiao. And deep in my heart, Pacquiao was on PEDs all those years before Floyd fought him and made him take the test. Made him take it. And people who are hating on Floyd Mayweather, see, I'm a boxing fan. So I'm not going to hate on one guy or favor another. There's some that I like, right? But I'm a fan of boxing and I'm fair. But you can't tell me that Pacquiao was not on some juice. He went from being a flyweight champion, what's that, 112 pounds, and moved up all the way to welterweight, knocking people out. And then once he had to start getting his blood tested, no more knockouts. So I can argue all day with different people, but we're talking about the money thing. Welcome on in, Eric. We're talking about the money thing. How in the heck? Let's just round it off and say you made $1 billion. $1 billion, not even $1 million. You give me $1 million right now, and you'd have to call me a fool if 10 years from now I didn't have 10 million or 15, 20, 50 million. I'm gonna rock that. At my age, I don't have 50 more years on this, or maybe I do, right? But still, I'm not gonna blow it. You gotta know when things are good for you and you need to not play games. Well, did he see himself as this poor boy from Michigan with a dysfunctional family? And now he has to prove to the world that he's this and he's that? That's the way it looks to me. He sees himself as the way he saw himself coming up. And to me, maybe he was embarrassed or traumatized, and that's what he's fighting against. And that's why he's so flamboyant. Because he doesn't see, he doesn't feel his fame. He doesn't feel his wealth. And he'll pay for the image. He'll pay to have these women around him, knowing that they're not around him because they love him. They come and go, and they go on with some other football players or celebrities, pass-arounds. So how is that? It's not real. You're living in a plastic world. It's like one time in an interview, Mike Tyson has said, he said, I knew these girls were around me and they were just around me because my fame and my money and everything. So I had these 5 girls in a hotel room, and one of them, I was high off of coke, and I was doing some weed. I was drunk. It was after a fight. And I told one of the girls, I know she doesn't love me. She didn't want me for me. So I told her, lie to me and tell me you love me so I can feel some fake love. It's better than no love at all. I was like, man, this guy, he was ahead of his time. He knew what time it was. They were using him. Lie to me and tell me you love me. Just let me hear you say it, even if it's not real. Ain't it something? But many of us are no different. Wearing fake costume jewelry and acting like it's real. Borrowing your rich uncle's car and driving it around like it's yours. So many of us have the same thing going on. But Floyd Mayweather, he's an example, because if he's like this to this point, $1 billion, and maybe he'll make some really big lump sums now because the world is so expanded in his reach, he'll make money. But with the debts that he have and the habits and mindset that he has, you can't tell me that he's not going to go through $500 million if he makes that much. His mind is the same way. It didn't change. It didn't change. It's like a crackhead who puts on a suit and you didn't see him for a while and he put a little weight, but he's still smoking crack. I'm different now. Could you loan me $100? Oh man, you're doing good. I'm glad you're off that stuff. Here's $100. He's gone. You see him a month later, all dirty in the street, sucked in. Say, man, he got me. He lied to me. Oh, thank you, Eric. I'm trying to learn. I'm gonna start practicing some more so I can make the shows more spicy. But money is a funny thing. Money does not replace character. It doesn't replace or take away insecurity. You understand? When you're insecure to the bone or feel low of yourself and you got to prove something. I know several people like that right now. You see, they got to prove something. They got to put you down. And he puts a lot of people down. I'm not like other fighters. You know, they don't make any money like me. I'm Floyd Money with Mayweather. You know, he it's always this money. Yeah, if you're a businessman and you make money, be glad you are. Do you hear Terrence Crawford, who never made the money Floyd Mayweather made? What did he make? $50 million for fighting Canelo. And he said if he ever came back, and this is way back after, because he said when he retired, he's not coming back. He said, you got to give me 100 now. And they were saying, yeah, Turkey al-Sheikh, the one over there in the Middle East, who has all the money, he was like, yeah, I'll give it to him. And Terrence Crawford was like, nah, that's all right, I'm good. We got to know when we're good. See, some fighters, they can't stop. Whether it's the fame, the adrenaline, the attention, it's not always just money. It's that fame too. You come up and people treat you like a nobody and now you're a champion? They're interviewing you and women are coming at you even if they just want your money? It's intoxicating. The lights, doing something, knocking the next man out in the rush of adrenaline. I mean, it's not that we're violent, but if we were going in the ring, we believe we can win, and the world saw you knock this guy out, everybody's patting you on the back. Hey, champ, man, you look real good. Do you know what that does to a person? More so when you're insecure, more so when you have no financial literacy or trained to treat money a certain way. Nah, I'm not wasting no money. Me right now, I'm not, When I go down into the town, listen, let me tell you something. I was going to go down to pick up some groceries down in the town. I went down there. What's today now? We're going into Wednesday. This was Monday. Yeah, this was Monday. Got out, went down there early. Went down to the supermarket, right? After I went to a restaurant, inexpensive, where they make these honey mustard subs, delicious. I had 2 of them, right? I didn't know how I stomached 2 of them. Then I went to they have 2 supermarkets in the Accra Mall. Went to one, I looked around. I said, I don't really need nothing here. Went to the other one, looked around. I said, there's nothing here I need. I took the van all the way back up and felt stupid because I'm like, I went down there thinking I was going to get something. I didn't need it, but I'm not going to spend unnecessarily. And I'm not cheap. I'm frugal, right? And it felt good too at the same time. I was like, man, I went down there and didn't get tempted and spend this and spend that. I had a coconut, but cut it up and you drink the water, a mango, and I ate. I'm good. I'm probably going to go down there tomorrow at some point. I know I'm not going to wake up so early because I'm up late right now. Right now it's 2:49 in the morning. That's okay. That's okay. I'll make it down and come back up and we'll rock some shows. But like I said, you can take the Nukka, I'm not going to say the N-word, out of the hood, but you can't take the hood out of the Nukka. Come on now. I'm not saying we lived in hoods, all of us, but we understand the hood mentality. You get a brand new car or a car. And when you have the hood mentality, whether you live in the hood or not, you're going to all your friends and knocking their door, and your car is out on the road, keys in there running, blasting music. Hey, man, look what I got, man. Look at my new ride. Folks are jealous of you. You bragging. I used to drive the bus in Orlando, Florida, and there were passengers that I didn't see for a while. And they went and purchased vehicles. Progression is good. It's like they were mad at me. They're pulling up. I'm like, who is this pulling up next to me, honking the horn? We get to the light. Yo, man, I ain't got to ride you no more. You ain't going to see me. I'm feeling happy for the brother. It's like, he's mad. You embarrassed to ride the bus? Heck, I don't have a car right now. The van goes right there. It suits me fine. My ego and my esteem is not attached to material goods or how the world views me. I'm glad to just fly below the radar. I don't have no urge to try to compete against anybody. All I need is the little I need. And maybe every now and then something I may want. And what is that? A new set of drawing pencils? These lights I want to get to, put in the ceiling for when I do the shows. That's the only thing I'm into. I'm good. People don't even know who I am, from social media. Some people do. They walk up to me, hey, you're Lance Scarif, right? But I'm not walking around, do you know who I am? What does it mean? 100 years from now, nobody's going to say my name. Maybe my kids and family, and they have videos or something, if they had those kind of things, if we survive, what's going on in the world right now, because we're on the verge of World War III. And the funny thing, I check Google Trends every now and then to see what's trending in different countries. And of course, I base my stuff on what's happening in America, because that's where, the subscribers are, 89% of them. Then Canada, then Jamaica, Ghana, Nigeria, 1% here and so much. But the 89% of the people who follow me now, and even on the old channel, is pretty much similar stats. And when I look at Google Trends, especially in America, the top 10 trending topics, out of the top 10, it's usually like 8 of them dealing with sports. 8 of them. Ain't that something? So this is where our mind is right now. Sports. Escape. We're not facing reality. Just like a Floyd Mayweather. So many of us can't say nothing about him because we got our head up in something else and our mind somewhere else. It doesn't mean you have to sit there and watch the news and panic because they want you in fear anyway. Like, we know it's about to jump off by Iran, and American ships are over there, China, Russian, they're going down there. Anything can happen. Who knows? I'm not going to live in fear, but at least be aware of what's going on. And so a lot of us are just not on the same page in this life. One person, their mind is way over here, disconnected. Some other person's way over there. Floyd Mayweather is fighting against his demons from when he was younger. Yeah, I got more money than anybody else. There's no other fighter like me. So many of us have that going on. Many of us don't. I'm just glad to be here, and I'm trying to make my life more simple with each passing day. And I appreciate it even more. Sweetberry, welcome on in. Yeah, he'll get a lot of money. He will. He has no choice. He has a lot of debts. And my thing is, no matter how much money he gets, it's like trying to fill a bucket up with water, but it has big holes in the bottom. It's not going to stick. I'm not wishing that on him, but from his prior habits to go blow through $1 billion, I mean, 350 million is chump change. He's got to maintain what he has. Is he going to downsize? He's got dozens and dozens of vehicles. Why don't you just rent those out at a high price to certain celebrities or whatever? Make money off of everything you do. It should be everything you spend on should be an investment that will bring you something back when you have that kind of leverage. Oh my God, you know what I would do with that money? And some people say, yeah, you say that now, but if you had it and you don't have to work no more and you'll change. Well, money and alcohol are two things that bring out something in you that was already there. They're amplifiers. Well, I had sex with him, but I was drunk and it was the alcohol. No, you wanted to do it. It made it easier. It amplified the little seed of lust and desire that you had inside of you. Money's the same way. People get weird. Some people, not everybody. Not everybody. Because I remember the young kids that I went to camp up in the Adirondacks back in 74 and 75. A lot of them were very affluent families. Michael Rockefeller was there. I smacked him in the head. He pushed me away from brushing my teeth by the sink. Maybe that's why I had such a hard time in this life. Maybe they had me on an Illuminati list from back then, 11 years old. But what I'm saying is that I used to listen to how those guys talked. At 11 years old, 12 years old, they were so financially literate. They were talking about the trust funds that they have. They were talking about the investments that their parents made and their play into it, what their role was, and they were made to feel as though they were included. Because what I learned at that young age, they didn't think of wealth as just, oh, I made this in my generation. It's a generational thing. With each passing generation, things are supposed to increase. What you start now, you might not see in your lifetime several $1 million, but you're starting it out. And your children are supposed to continue with it because you're supposed to teach them and let them know the value of money. And the money is supposed to work for you. With the money that Floyd Mayweather had, and he's probably got some rental properties and different things. But what I'm saying is that with all of that, you should, if you blew through $1 billion, you should have 4 or 5 billion right now. You should have 4 or 5 billion right now. Not even looking at a boxing ring. I would have started a whole social media platform independent of all the other ones that are controlled by those small hats. That money? Anyway, it's something that's heartbreaking. And I hate to say it, but it just seems to me like even if he makes money fighting Tyson and Pacquiao and maybe another safe opponent, because he cannot compete against these guys now in their 20s. And he may have been a better fighter than them when he was that age, but a prime fighter, unless he goes to pick some subpar competition and pay some money under the table to take a dive, because boxing is a dirty sport. It's like with Ryan Garcia. When he lost, was it last year, to Rolly Romero? Lost after he was busted taking the PEDs when he beat Devin Haney, which is now ruled a no contest because he was busted with drugs. And even the racism in boxing. Ryan Garcia, was he of Mexican lineage? In Golden Boy under Oscar de la Hoya with his fishnet wearing self. He went on a rampage after the fight with Devin Haney. He talked about Jews. He talked about Nukkas. He talked about how he hated Nukkas. He talked about Jews. He hated Muslims. All this erratic behavior. But they gave him a pass. Oh, he has problems. Oh, he's stressed. Because he has these pretty boy so-called looks. I don't know what that means because I don't look at a man like that. But there's a lot of admirers who are male who like the way he looks. He's a fighter. It's not about your looks. But he gets a pass for it. So he lost the fight to Rolly Romero, but he gets a title shot that he just won the other week. So how do you bypass? You get a loss and you bypass other worthy contenders because it's a business. And of course, when you're black, it's stacked against you, no matter what. That's why a lot of people couldn't handle Canelo losing to Terrence Crawford after moving up 3 weight divisions. From 147, and he fought one fight at 154, passed 160, and went right to 168. Skills pay the bills. They couldn't handle it. They just knew that Canelo was going to walk all over him. And the racist Mexican fans, I'm not saying they all were racist, but many of them were. This little black man ain't going to come beat Canelo. Even Canelo was cherry picking and didn't want to fight anybody. David Benavidez was a mandatory to fight Canelo for 3 years, and Canelo avoided him. That's not fair. He'd walk through Canelo. And he's supposed to be coming back again. For what? You through, buddy. It's exactly starting a franchise, something big. Even if you don't start it out super huge, you're not going to blow all your money on something, but you're going to start something and it could be self-insured. See? Backed by your money. Like the bus company I worked for, Lynx, in Orlando, Florida. Drove with them for a number of years. They didn't have to get insurance for their buses. They were self-insured. You know how that helps to compound money? They had their own set of lawyers in-house for any little case that went on, slips and falls, little fender benders, and they had a set amount of money that they would give you with a cap if you had certain things that happened. I mean, if somebody got killed by one of the buses, that's something else. So they kept that in check and they ran it. I peeped things like that. But even in business, I mean, look at Sugar Ray Robinson back in the day, had all those businesses in Harlem. What happened to them? It fades. Why can't they make the successful transition from an athlete? And this is for other athletes also. And there are some who've done well, like Magic Johnson. You know, I don't know football and basketball that much, but I'm quite sure there's some other guys out there that have done fairly well. Even if they never touched $1 billion, they can set themselves. Like I said, you give me $500,000, my next few generations won't have to work. Because I'm going to sacrifice myself. I wouldn't even be trying to spend that money up like that. No way. But it's amazing, the human mind, where we're coming from, who we are. And Floyd Mayweather, I don't know. I'll be talking about that as the fights come up and different angles and just life in general, man, because it's just amazing to me how you know what to do. You hear it. You hear people telling you the right thing, but you just want to blow it on cars and trips and all around the world and jets. And like that's going to end. He's no different than the dude in the hood who works a little job and gets his tax return check. And now he goes to the mall and he feels like he can buy the mall with a little check that's a couple $1,000s. Your chest is pumped out now. You got a lump sum of money. And you got bills you got to pay. You don't pay those. But you're out there with your chest pumped up and you feel like you can buy the whole daggone mall. And you try, and next week you're broke. And you're looking at all the foolish things that you bought. And you're like, where did this money go? I like to keep it and have the feeling that I'm keeping it. I don't push my chest out, right? But I can do this if I want to, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to spend on anything unnecessary. I'm going to get what I need, and I'm not going to look to do anything that I may want, because your wants will kill you. And if I do something that I like they got a couple of sushi restaurants out here that I like to go to. And they're not super cheap, but they're affordable. So every now and then, in a premeditated way, I'll say, you know what, in 2 weeks, I'm going to go over there. And when I'm eating, I'm taking my time and slow biting it and enjoying it, knowing that I'm allotting a certain amount for this. I enjoyed it. I'm done. And sometimes I set time aside to do that, and I wake up that morning like, I'm not going. I need to put that money toward this or that, or I need to save it. Or I don't feel like going. I'd rather back up from it than look to keep going and splurging. And it keeps me very productive. It keeps me very stable. And Mrs. Scurv appreciates that. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this down. I just wanted to come on for a short period of time. It's 3:03. I'm still going to get up early, not too early. I do have to get my sleep. But I had guys here working for the last 3 weeks, so I was pretty much stuck to the house. Now, for a while, they'll be gone before they come back for the next phase of work, so I can move freely and be in the house and just be quiet and enjoy and make the content that I want to do and just get the sun that I need. I know you can hear it in my voice. I've been talking all day long. So anyway, much love to you all, and we're going to move on to the next one. I'm going to be probably talking in my sleep. I'll probably be doing podcasts in my sleep. And I'm just looking forward to tomorrow, creator willing, and we're going to do it big. We're going to talk about some topics. And there's some topics I promised that I was going to talk about. The FBA thing and the sexually transmitted demons. And somebody asked me to talk about it more. But I want to do it in more depth. I don't want to just talk it the same way I did before. I want to go deeper. So it'll be somewhat adult, not lewd, but we're going to talk about some real things, because a lot of things I discovered in the last few years that I need to share. Anyway, much love to you all. I'm going to be sleeping in about 10 minutes, and We're going to continue this tomorrow. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Peace.